I just fear I'm never gonna have good lighting here, but I think that's just story of my life with this, and that's okay. It's just where we're at. It has been a long time since I have done a video, so hi again, and welcome if you're new here. I'm trying to get back into the habit of just sitting down and making these videos and keeping myself accountable. I think that's a big part of them for me, and just finding people and building community. So, gonna get back into this. Sorry for the hiatus. There's been kind of a lot going on, some of it writing related and some of it not. And so we'll kind of dive into it. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. So I'd have to go check some of the last updates that I gave. Currently, it is March 2026, and I have not published anything new still. I still have a couple of different things in the works. A lot of progress has been made on them, but nothing to where I'm publishing yet. The fantasy series I'm working on finished up with beta readers. I have their feedback that I have been going through, but mostly I've been working on finishing up the last book in my young adult paranormal romance trilogy that I have been working on for a long time now. Anyone who has read it or has been waiting for it has been waiting anxiously for a while. It's the one that everyone who knows me knows that I'm working on and asks me about, and so I'm glad I've made major progress on that one, but it's been slow going. It's been a little rough, and there's been a few things involved with that. I've mentioned many times, I'm a toddler mom right now. My son just turned 2 in February, and we are definitely entering toddler phase, and so it has been a lot of transitioning, right? Not a small newborn who's sleeping all the time. Now he is awake a lot. He has more demands, and so having to readjust my writing schedule consistently now to try to make sure that I actually have time to sit down while also, being present for him has been a lot to juggle. I'm a working person as well, so I started back at work just before he turned 1, and I was supposed to be a part-time employee, which has not worked out. I am considered full-time. I'm still not working like crazy hours, but I'm working more now than I was ever planning on when coming back, and so that's been a lot more to juggle as well. And one of the biggest things that impacted my writing for a long time, and still does some days, but I've got more of a handle on it, is pain levels. So last year, I don't even know exactly what month it was. I know I got diagnosed in December, so I don't know what month I was actually that I noticed I was dealing with it consistently. Got a fresh haircut today, so showing off my shaved parts there. So it was months that it went on. So I don't know exactly when, but I started dealing with consistent pain in my hands and my wrists. Some of it is attributed to carpal tunnel. I have dealt with carpal tunnel off and on since I was a teenager, but generally with that, I'll have like a flare up where it will, be kind of upset for a little while, maybe just even a few days, at longest like a couple of weeks, and then it tones down and goes away, especially as I wear my wrist braces at night and things like that. So some of it I know is attributed to that. Between the writing and my job, I have a lot of wrist and hand movement that happens, so I know that's part of it. But I started dealing with it on a daily basis, where for months on end, my hands hurt terribly. I could barely touch my thumbs and my pinkies together. Like, that motion put so much strain on the muscles in my hands. It just was excruciating. I was living on pain meds daily. My husband bought me a hand massager to try to help massage my hands to help them. I was so stiff. I was dropping things regularly at work. I just didn't have the grip strength. It was bad enough to where I legitimately thought I had arthritis. I thought that I was developing arthritis, and I was trying to figure out how in the world I was supposed to continue not only my job, but writing as well. And so I think I've mentioned maybe in videos before, there's a lot of videos I've attempted to film that never made it to the channel, so I don't know if I actually mentioned it. But I have been practicing dictation more. I'm still not good at it. It is still not my preferred way to write, but I've been practicing that, so that way when I have flare-ups, it's, a workaround for me. But for months there, I was really struggling to write because of these pain levels. And so even when I had time, I could only write for maybe 10 to 15 minutes before my hands would just give out, and it wasn't working. So after months of that, I did get an appointment with a doctor, and like I said, I assumed it was arthritis. I was like, if it wasn't arthritis, I knew it had something to do with inflammation, right? And so I got with a doctor in December of 2025, and she's wonderful. I was very worried about it being ignored or brushed off, especially just like, I'm almost 29. I'm 29 this year, and I was very worried about people not listening to and taking my joint pain seriously. But she was fantastic. She did listen. She was very sympathetic. And so we had a bunch of tests we were going to run, one of them for some of the markers for arthritis. And she decided to run one more lab for celiac disease due to family history. I have a sister that has celiac disease. And I'm very grateful she did, because my tests came back very much likely for celiac disease. They apparently can't diagnose it 100% without a stomach biopsy, but the tests were fairly conclusive, where it is, if I'm not full-blown celiac, the gluten is not good for me, right? So I was shocked, genuinely. My symptoms, I don't experience any symptoms the way my sister does with it. But I immediately made diet changes there, and I have noticed huge improvements with my hands. So that has been helping a lot. It's been slow going. It's been, progress here and there. There's still days where I have flare-ups and things hurt, but in general, that has helped a ton with getting me back into a writing routine. Which then, because I'm now getting back into a writing routine, which is fantastic and I love, I am having to face some harsh truths about other struggles I'm having with this last book in this trilogy and why I'm having a hard time writing it. And so I wanted to kind of take a deep dive and analyze that a little bit, and kind of, like I said, just come face to face with some of the struggles that maybe I have been wanting to avoid thinking about or blame on other things. So as I've mentioned before, this one is the last book of the trilogy. So there's a lot of things that I have to tie up. There's a lot of pressure involved internally for me as the author and the writer, where I know there's expectations. I want to tie things up in a way that is satisfying, that doesn't feel rushed, but it feels like I gave, the characters their due justice, and the story and the plot, and just there's a lot that goes into it. So along with just that pressure, I also think that I have just kind of become disconnected from this story. And I've been really trying to think about why that's happened and how I can get over that hump, because this is not a series that I'm leaving unfinished. That's not something that I want to do. I know, very few authors that have done that, and I just don't think that I can do that with this series. I need to finish it. That is something that, just for my peace of mind. And for the readers that I have who I know are very excited for this last book and have been waiting for literal years. I think this is year 3 that they're waiting for this book. So I'm very empathetic to them and want to be able to push through to do this. And like I said, I want to not rush it. I want to make it a good story. And so trying to figure out why I've become disconnected has been a process. And some of the things that I've been trying to think about and strategies to reconnect are some of the things I wanted to talk about today. One of the things that kind of is at the top of the list is just, does it feel old? Is there something new and shiny? I think most writers can experience or empathize with, you have this story you've been working on, but then once sometimes it gets to the hard portions, like the editing or the rewrites, there's this other story idea that'll pop in your head, and you want to go and follow that trail and that story idea. And that's very common. I, in particular, am definitely a person that I get distracted by the shiny new things. And I did, right? I had this whole new fantasy book that I finished, like the third draft of it. I'm currently on draft 4 of this fantasy series before I finished my YA trilogy, right? So I 100% am somebody who gets distracted by shiny things. But I also am very good typically about coming back to the thing I need to. And so one of my strategies usually is allowing myself to get distracted momentarily. When I have new story ideas that I really don't want to lose, I'll allow myself to, take an hour or two to plot out or write down really quick just the rough plot and character ideas I do have. Sometimes I'll write out the first chapter of it just to kind of get it out of my system. That way it's not continuing to take up space in my head, and I can come back and focus on this other one. So that was something I had to consider, right? Was I just distracted by these new shiny things? And the answer is I don't think so. I don't think so, because I have allowed myself to do my normal process with that. I've written 2 other books in this trilogy, right? Like I know what it's like to become distracted mid-process and come back to those ones, and that hasn't worked so far with this book. And so I don't think it's just that, it's old, it's what I've been doing, and there's new shiny things to follow. I think there's something deeper. So then I had to dive back into character building, because it has been a little while since I got serious about the characters in this series here. So I've been looking a lot at the character builds that I've had, the notes that I have on them, going back and rereading the old books so I can really immerse myself in, the story again and their thought process, the way they feel things and observe things. And that has been very helpful with helping me dive back in and re-immerse myself with the story, try to get back into it. But along with that, I have discovered one of the problems, which is I'm not loving where my female main character is at currently. And so it's really hard for me to write her point of view, because I don't like where she's at in her character arc. Now, that's just part of her character arc. She's going to come out of it on the other side, but I am really struggling to get through this portion where I'm not loving her a lot, which then makes me concerned for readers liking her. So I'm having to take a hard look at her as a character and what growth she needs to have and the time frame that's happening in, to make sure that it's reasonable and still fits with the story and herself. So disconnecting, right? Trying to get back with that character specifically and where she's headed here. The other thing that I have found probably the most helpful has been talking with other people about where I'm at, and dissecting the characters and their motivations. I don't know exactly how long it's been, a few months now. I have a friend that she's writing her first book, and so her and I have started having writing sessions together and, trading chapters. And so we're being critique partners for each other. And it is immensely helpful to have her there where I can bounce ideas off of. Even when the two of us aren't necessarily giving the other person ideas, just having somebody you can talk things out loud with, and that can ask questions that you may not ask, or who do ask questions that make you explain things differently, is so helpful with figuring out what makes sense for this character, for this story, for what I need to happen next. So she's been immensely helpful as a critique partner. My husband's read my books, and so of course he's very good at harassing me and holding me accountable to how long I'm taking on this book. So anytime I tell him about other story ideas I have, he will always, without fail, end up joking about how I have this book that I'm supposed to be working on that I haven't quite finished yet, that people are waiting on. So having him hold me accountable, again, immensely helpful. It does add that pressure of, oh wait, there are people that know I'm working on this, that are expecting this, that I need to not fail them. And then, readers, again, who reach out and ask me progress on it, family who ask me progress. My sister, she's read them, and she'll ask me, how far am I? How many pages do I have now? How close am I getting? And so talking through things with people, and particularly people that hold me accountable, has been something that has pushed me to really force through this disconnection and put in the work to just keep moving forward with it. And then last but not least, I think reviewing my motivations for this story has been one of the most helpful things. And I don't know that I'm quite there all the way with figuring out this story in particular, my motivations behind it. And I think that realization was one of the biggest I had with why this other fantasy series has been so appealing for me, because I know that one so clearly. I know the meaning of the story. I know the purpose behind the characters that I built and the growth that they have to go through. I know what I'm trying to show and what I'm trying to tell. And with my last book in the trilogy, I don't know exactly what it is that I'm trying to say with that one. I knew pretty clearly with the other two, and I haven't quite figured out my motivation for this one. And I think that's the biggest thing that's holding me back, is I don't know the overall tone, moral of the story, right? I don't know what it is that I'm trying to relay. Therefore, it's difficult for me to spread those themes throughout it, and especially through the characters that can relay those themes that I want to tell, the things that are important to me there. And so that's kind of my next big step to really connect myself back with this story, is evaluating where I'm at as a person, what types of things I want to show, right? What are the lessons that I want to show the world there? And I think that is what is going to help me really reconnect, to be able to push through this last bit. I've made so much progress. I just need to push through a little longer, and we will really have things going. And so that's kind of my next step. Hopefully I will be able to push through enough to where I can finish this draft, and I should be able to publish the book this year if I can keep up on things. I also have been having to give myself a lot of grace, a lot of forgiveness with things like being a mom of a young child, right? And my pain levels and working, like somebody the other day was talking about how we all have different number of spoons to give, right? And just being honest with myself that sometimes my spoons are pretty low. Sometimes I have very few spoons. And while writing is a priority, it unfortunately is not the top priority, right? I have so much more in life, and such a full life that I'm so grateful for, that requires my energy and time and attention. So this was kind of a rambling one. So thank you for hanging out and listening to me again. I feel like that's always what these end up being, but that's okay. At least I'm consistent in that. Is there, if you guys have any tips for pushing through, for getting back in with your characters, or a story that you've stepped away from for a little while, definitely let me know. I would love to hear any other advice as I work through this. And have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.